Hi guys, Adam with High Desert Hollow here, coming to you from a little bit different setting than I have in the past. This is actually, sitting in my office at my desk, because we're going to do Swales Part 2. And what that was is I'm going to end up going over what I took into account for my property, so why we put the swales where we did and what we're trying to accomplish from now and in the future as well. So what I'm going to do is I'll end up bringing you up closer here, and we'll end up doing kind of an aerial of the top of the desk as I draw it out and kind of explain the stuff that I was looking at and why I did what I did. So stay with me and we'll go from there. Alright everybody, here we are. This is the tabletop of why I put the swales where I did and what I took into account. So this is basically the one end of the pasture. The pasture is 7 acres total, but this is just the end that I'm working with now. So what we have here is we have the road that's out in front. Goes east and west. Obviously due north is straight this way. On this end we have the neighbor's stack yard and a gate, because in the past we've fed cows and had cows here through the winter, feeding them from this stack yard, so we had this gate here to get to a round feeder that's over here by the barn. On this going northeast we've got the main canal, which I've got water rights off of for this property. And then I've got my ditch that I've got a head gate right over here, right off the paper, that takes the water off the canal, runs into the ditch, and this ditch is the same one that comes over and around and feeds my berry patch and my garden and part of my yard clear over off the map over here as well. So, what we took into account for the swales is I sat and watched things for quite a while. We got kind of the high points, which is the most important, because like I said in the first video, swales need to be dead level, and so we don't want to try to run them uphill, and they can run downhill, but that defeats the purpose. We want to stop and hold the water and keep it level. So we found the highest point, and the highest point is right here, kind of in that corner. And it maintains height, about the same height over to here in this realm, right about here. And the whole main pasture slopes off this direction. And the farther it goes this way, the gradualer the slope gets, almost to where it's level at the end. It still slopes all the way to the end, but it gets less steep. So what I took into effect with the high point is we took the A-frame level and we decided where we were going to start, which is right here, and I marked a contour line. That contour line came almost over and across, and it actually almost follows that fence line. This is a fence right here on this side of the ditch, and it comes over and around to right about there, and it kind of drops off. After I marked that contour line, we decided we wanted to have, at this high point, we wanted to have a key point dam or a high point pond, whatever you want to call it. So we ended up taking all the dirt out of here, and we ended up bringing it down below. And it's not very big. We're talking maybe 12 feet across, 14 feet across, and it's only about 5 feet deep. Just something that when I get a major flow of water, it fills up, and it's a neat little deal. So we went through and we dug all the dirt from this contour line. We brought downgrade, like I talked about in the first video, and we just bring it all on the downhill slope. So that leaves us a ditch right here. Now, one of the things I had to keep into effect is I'm still working with my neighbor, and we're still wanting to use this gate, and we're driving tractors or trucks or whatever here, so I had to maintain a roadway. So what we did is we ended up burying a culvert right here in this range. That way I can maintain the water flow from here to here, but we still had a driveway, and that kind of maintains a real low use road, but it is just because we don't want to compact and smash stuff down, but just when we're using it to get equipment into here to feed or whatever, we can drive across that and then through this area here to here. Okay. And I talked about in the first video level sills. So I took that into effect as well. And that's how I kind of know this whole thing's working right, is when the level sills are running over all at the same time, we know it's right. So I ended up putting a level sill in right about there, another one right about there, and then this is actually a level sill right here on the edge of the pond, and the end of the swale right here, there's another one. So we got 4 total. And what that does is when this fills all the way up, this is where the water's going to escape out of those points right there, and it comes out and around about like that. Now, we talked about too that a swale system is designed so that we just harvest natural water and we use to maximize that, whether it be rainfall, snow melt, whichever you have. But I've got water rights off the canal, so I wanted to implement the ditch into it, so I took it into account as well. So I can open the head gate, fill the ditch up, and this ditch actually still soaks water from here all the way down into this. This is essentially a swale all of its own, but I've got a head gate here, spillway, that the water will come up, fill, run into here, and it runs straight down in kind of a sheeting, because I've got it slowed down with some rocks and some different earthworks to slow that water down and kind of spread it out, and it comes down and it fills up the swale. And when I open up the head gate on the canal, fills this up, I knew I had it just about right when I had this completely full and water ran out the ends at the same time, and it ran out these level sills. It's all at the same time. It's not like it was all running down here and running out here and I wasn't getting anything here. It was completely level, full to the top, and it all starts running out at the same time to go downhill. Because what we're trying to do is, like I say, water moves right angle to contour, and our swale is on contour. So we're just stopping that water, soaking it in, and we got the berms down here below it. And this is where we're going to end up planting the trees and stuff. While we had the excavator, I took and we dug another swale, and it almost matches this contour exactly, because that's just the way the contour fell. And it goes about like this, except I ran this one out farther. So it almost comes down to the barn. And then the same thing, it's essentially, like you say, just a ditch. And we take, and that dirt gets moved into a mound right there. So now this water is going to run into here. This water is going to run into here. This water runs to here. And this water runs to here. Same thing being, this is a level sill, the water runs out here. I've got another level sill about here where the water runs out. I've got another level sill on this side. I had to think about that for a second. And then it runs out here and it runs down as well. Same thing, when this fills up, then it fills to here. This fills up and the water runs out all at the same time. What we do after we have this built is we come back through, and this is where I'm planting the trees. I've got elderberries, apples, peaches, multiple nitrogen fixers in the form of seaberry and buffalo berry, and I'm going to end up putting, next year I'm planning on putting some pear, plum, and some other apple trees through here. Right now, this year I ran out of money for trees, so Gabe and I ended up planting a bunch of pumpkins on about a third of this lower swale. So we've got pumpkins growing all over down here. We've got elderberries and some other bushes over here, and like I say, all the fruit trees up through there. Okay, so like I said, we're concerned about the high point, keeping things level, and what we're trying to do too is soak that water in. So it's soaking into the roots here, and then what it does after that, it still continues to soak through the ground, and it's very evident if you were to take an aerial picture of my pasture right now. This is all still being ran on a wheel line sprinkler system. I have to run and change the water every 12 hours when I decide to water and move it up to the next set. This, all it's getting is whatever natural rainfall, and every once in a while I'll open the canal up and run it in and fill it up, and it soaks in and overflows, soaking in, overflowing, and I never let it run very far down into here. Just because I have the sprinkler system out there and I don't have anything else to direct the water, so basically it'll run out and it actually comes down and it ends up running just all here, and I miss all this up here. This will run over here like this because I don't have another swale coming across here yet to help direct that and spread it out again, which that's the next plan, is we're going to end up putting another swale here and another one down here, and the farther down we go, the farther they're going to get apart because we'll have it's gradular terrain. still planting the trees in the downhill side. What this is also accomplishing is it's making it into a silvopasture model, kind of like the African safari, savanna, I guess. And what that does is this is all going to be grass, pasture grass, and that's all I'm worried about here is growing grass in between. And what that grass is going to do is going to allow me to do a leader-follower system with cows, turkeys, chickens, and possibly goats. I haven't made up my mind on that yet in here. And what we'll do is a paddock system, and it'll be broke up, and I'll end up we'll start with the cows, follow that with turkeys, follow that with pasture-based chickens, and then follow that with the goats. And what that does is you work those around back and forth, and they don't eat everything. You move them before they can totally destroy it, and then so the cows eat what they want, and then the turkeys come behind them, break apart the cow crap, and eat the bugs and eat whatever grass they like. The chickens are coming behind them doing the same thing, and then the goats are coming behind that eating off the weeds that are left that the other animals didn't want to eat. And the whole time they're leaving their own form of fertilizer as they go all the way through it, and then by the time it's done you've moved them all the way back up to the top and start them again, and this has had time to recover, and you're moving them through it all over again, back and forth, and just continue to build up the topsoil and soak the water into the ground. Just a very phenomenal system. So that's about a swale in a nutshell, and what I looked at to design it and what I had to go into it. Once again, taking into effect the high point, contour. We had to find the contour, where I had outside water source to come in, and if you don't have that, that's still fine. You just need to be able to calculate and figure out what kind of catchment you're going to have, how much properties above that the water's going to be running down off of that you're going to be wanting to stop. Because that's the whole point, is we're stopping this water and utilizing it as much as we can, slowing it down and making our plants use it while we have it. And eventually, if everything works right, when this is all said and done, we'll harvest so much water that it's got to go somewhere, hoping that we down here on the downhill side that we eventually get a small marshy spring to develop, and we can develop that into a pond of some sort or whatever we want to do that way. That's all that depends on what happens and what goes from there. So if you guys have other questions about swales, feel free to contact me either through Facebook or through YouTube. I'm more than happy to answer questions on it. I am not an expert at this. I'm still learning as I go, but it's a design science. It makes sense. When I first heard about it, I thought it was a hippie thing. It's not a hippie thing. It is a definite science, and once you understand kind of the concept and what you're looking for and what you're trying to accomplish, it just, like I say, it all clicks and it all makes sense, and it's just all a little bit of earthworks. Makes life easier in the end, makes it a self-sustaining system, and just kind of helps Mother Nature along with it. So there you go. All right, everybody, that wraps up Swales Part 2. Kind of went into, like I say, what I took into account for where we put the swales and why we did. And it wasn't just I make it up as I go. This is actually design science. You take into effect the catchment area and outside input sources and elevation and everything that we already went over. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to contact me, let me know, make comments for the video, and we'll kind of go from there. And if you guys haven't found us yet, we are on Facebook under High Desert Hollow. And if you are liking the videos and stuff that we're putting up, subscribe to the channel. It helps me out and gives us a thumbs up. But other than that, we are just trying to live a more self-reliant lifestyle and promote modern homesteading. Adam with High Desert Hollow, signing out.